Okay, so last week we started with Second Chronicles 7:14, right?
Mm-hmm.
We went over the whole verse, and we're breaking down each part because Catholic misinterpretation of this being that applies to everybody, and the people that are trying to use this to justify their behaviors or justify their existence, really, it doesn't apply to in the way that they want it to.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we already went through and then identified that Yahuwah, which is the name that of the Creator, not God, not Lord, okay,
Or Jesus.
or Jesus, okay. Those are all false titles and demonic names.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we already established that Yahuwah is the name that his people are going to be called by, which ends up being Yashar'al, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yashar being Hebrew for prince, and the Al, because you see that it's written. You write it out in English, really. Yashar, Al, right? There's your apostrophe there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have Yashar for prince, and Al being Elohim, or depending on your pronunciation,
Elohim.
Ah, right? But it's still that Al, which is representative of mighty power. Okay? So be a prince of mighty power. Right? So in the kingdom, right? Who would the prince be?
Yahusha.
Yahusha?
Why?
Because he's kind of like Yahuwah's right-hand man in a way.
Right, but in a regular kingdom, you have the king.
Oh, his son.
Right, his son. Mm-hmm. His son is the prince. Right, so when Jacob was sitting there wrestling with this being, and he called him the Prince of Elohim, right, saying that he's like a prince having power with Elohim, he gave him his name. There was a name change and a transfer, okay? So he's wrestling with Yahusha, who we've studied and discovered that is just Yahuwah's physical representation on earth. Okay, that's like his avatar body. Okay? So we've already established that Yahuwah has a people and it's not the entire planet. Right? Yashar'al. Right? Who are called by my name, right? That's this part.
Yashar'al.
Okay?
All.
So we've established that it's not the whole world. Okay? Contrary to popular belief. It's not all nations. That he has a specific people. He wants them to behave a certain way, and he wants them to worship him in a certain way. And if they're not doing that, then they can't be considered his people. So all the other nations of the world, are they his people?
No.
Why not?
Because they were not chosen. He didn't give his promise, which is the covenant,
right,
to them. He gave it to Jacob.
Right. So when everybody freaks out and talks about, oh, white man this and Chinese man that and everything else, Hebrews can't be mad at everybody else for breaking a law because the law wasn't given to them. You mad at everybody else. Our people were the ones that broke the law. Our people were the ones that broke the covenant. Be mad at them.
Right.
Okay? So we've established that. We went through a whole bunch of scriptures talking about who his people were, how he dealt with his people. Okay? Today we're gonna get into the next part of it. Okay? We're gonna talk about being humble and prayer. Because there's an order to this. If you look at this, there's steps, there's recipe. I want to bake a cake. it's going to be this type of cake. This is how you make it. Then I'll eat it.
Right.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we already got the cake recipe. You know what the name of the recipe is, right? Now we're going to get into how it's made. Now, when you go and make a cake, if I tell you to make a chocolate cake and you don't add cocoa powder to it, is it going to be a chocolate cake?
No.
It's going to be a vanilla cake.
Right.
But even if you have a vanilla cake, you got to add vanilla flavoring.
It's not gonna taste like anything.
It's not going to taste like anything.
Unless you put like frosting on it.
Yeah.
Then maybe.
Yeah, but then the frosting is extra. But if you just want a cake, if I'm gonna make carrot cake, I don't put carrots in it. Is it carrot cake?
No.
If I'm gonna make chocolate chip cookies and don't put chocolate chips in it, you're not gonna have chocolate chip cookies.
You're just gonna have chocolate chips.
You're just gonna have a nasty sugar cookie. Okay, you're not gonna have what you want. Now, you wouldn't settle for that, not getting what you want the way you want it. Is the Most High any different?
No, absolutely not.
He wants things the way he wants it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's given his people an order to follow. His people, not the entire planet. His people. Okay, because again, even in Catholicism, when they go to Paul, Paul says that everybody. Even Paul says salvation is of the Yahudim first, then the Greek or Gentile.
Mm-hmm.
So Yashar'al has to get redeemed first before anybody else. Just like in the beginning, Yashar'al was given the law first. The Moabites weren't given the law. The Canaanites weren't given the law. The Greeks and the Persians and all them, they weren't given the law. Yashar'al was given the law first. Then they, through their behavior, following the law, were to be a light to the rest of the world. But even with that, even if the entire planet is following Torah, Yahuwah still has his group, his people, okay? His team, his main team, all right?
Okay.
So let's go through here. We're going to go through the recipe now. So, if my people, Yashar'al, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray. What does it mean? What do you think it means to humble yourself? Why do you think you have to humble? Why do you think you would have to even get to the point of humbling yourself? What does being humble mean? In the Hebrew, it's anah. You break it down to nah. Okay. Oh no.
Yeah. Oh no.
Just like the twins.
Don't behave that way. Oh no. Okay. So, being humble means you're chastening yourself, dealing hardly with, to submit yourself and to weaken. Okay. So it's not being a punk, nor is it being a slave. Okay. It's just basically being humble means you're not putting yourself mentally or with an attitude of being better than anyone else.
Right.
If anything, you're making yourself equal to or lower than everybody else, even though you might not be. Okay? Just like Yahusha did. He said he thought it not robbery to be called equal.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime he talked to people, he was elevating Yahuwah.
Not himself.
I'm speaking the words that I was told to say.
Mm-hmm.
He ain't come up with this stuff on his own. Oh, he gave you a new commandment. In addition to the other ones. He didn't say, I'm replacing all the law with this. Because he also said, love Yahuwah and love your neighbor. On these two hang all the law and the prophets. So that would be like one hook to love Yahuwah, one hook to love your neighbor as yourself, and on those two you hang the law and the prophets. Like when you put up a picture. You're not getting rid of them. You're not getting rid of the picture. You're actually, here, this is the display. And these are the foundations, just like a coat rack. A hook, yeah. Like we got the keys up there. There's two hooks on there. Right? There's two hooks to put the key rings up on. You put the key on those two nails, hang the key sign, and all of our keys, right? So, what's the matter?
No, saying recording while the phone charging may increase the phone temperature.
Yeah, so unplug it for a minute.
Oh, got it.
Keep an eye on the battery.
Yeah. All right, so you understand that now the humility, what's the opposite of being humble? Dean? What's the opposite of being humble?
Pride?
Right, pride.
Being prideful?
Mm-hmm. Arrogant, swelling, usually of the head.
Yeah.
Somebody getting a big head about it. Like, I'm so high and lofty. Yeah, you full of...
Jim?
Yeah, huh?
Jim?
Jim? Yeah. The, when your mother and I were growing up, we used to try and encouraging each other or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So don't gas his head up.
Or don't get a swelled head.
Yeah.
We used to say.
So you like a hot air balloon gets filled up.
Yeah, that's why.
Right? But I tell people, how do you walk through the door with your head being so big?
Mm-hmm.
Thinking so highly of yourself. Okay. Now it's ga'on, which is kind of like go on.
Go on.
Right?
Go on.
So you see the difference here is arrogant, being humble, right? Which is what Yahuwah is requiring. He doesn't want your pride. Okay? He wants your humility. He wants you to chasten yourself. I did something wrong. I recognize that. I feel bad about it. Okay? Deal hardly with. Not saying you got to call yourself stupid, right? Or to beat yourself up, like brutally, emotionally, or mentally beat yourself up about it. But just break yourself down. You submit yourself to Yahuwah's law. You weaken your own ego versus being prideful and arrogant and swelling. Oh, I can handle this. I don't have any problems. I can have a drink if I want. I can look at that movie and not be affected at all. Right? So let's look at some of the examples through Scripture of being humble, or how Yahuwah uses humility with people also. Okay? Let's look at Exodus 10. Mm-hmm. Chapter 10, verse 3.
I'm not there yet. Okay.
So let me get there.
Chapter 10,
Mhm.
verse what?
3.
Okay.
Go ahead and read it. Okay?
And Moses and Aaron came in unto Pharaoh and said unto him, Thus said the Elohim Yah the Hebrews, and how long wilt thou refuse to humble thyself before me? Let my people go that they may serve me.
All right, so Moses and Aaron are stepping to the king of Mitzrayim, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Yahuwah's instructed Moses, who's using Aaron, so it's a mouthpiece talking to a microphone, okay? Because Moses had a speech problem. So he would tell Aaron what to say, and Aaron would say it, all right? He's telling Pharaoh, how long is it going to be before you humble yourself, that you let my people go that they may worship me? Okay? What happened with Pharaoh? He kept hardening his heart. Yahuwah kept hardening his heart, right? Because does a king really think that he has to be humble sometimes?
No.
Because he's a king.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm the top dog. Why do I have to be humble about anything?
He feels that because he's an authority, he can do what he wants.
Now also, and also realize that the pharaohs, throughout all of Egypt's history, the pharaohs were seen as physical incarnations of God.
God on earth.
They were God on earth. So why would a God have to be humble?
Right.
That's why Yahuwah was saying, how long is it going to be till you chasten yourself, till you submit, till you weaken, versus this arrogancy and swelling of your head that you seem to have.
Mm.
Why else you think the pharaohs had them big crowns? Room for all their head to swell up into. So now we all know how that ended up. All right. He didn't give up until he lost his own child, right? So now we go from that to see how he dealt with the king and his lack of humility. Now we're going to see what kind of humility Yahuwah required of his people. Okay? Go to Deuteronomy 8.
Right there.
Now, you can look through the whole chapter at, later, but I'm just gonna kind of skip around it here a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so he starts off, all the commandments which I command thee this day shall ye observe to do, that ye may live and multiply, and go in and possess the land which Yahuwah sware unto your fathers. And thou shalt remember all the way which Yahuwah thy Elohim led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee, and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldst keep his commandments or no. So for 40 years, he was chastening them. Because, see, think about this. They were being enslaved in Egypt all those years, right? Beaten, smacked around, insulted, whatever. Then their Elohim comes in and rips the place apart to get them. Okay? Breaks Pharaoh's spirit, kills off all, and probably all, if not all, most of the Egyptian army that was chasing after them.
The firstborn.
The firstborn of all Egypt was dead.
Mm-hmm.
So all you had was second and third. All you had was little siblings left, if anything. Right? Yahuwah did all this. He showed his mighty power on their behalf to get them out. When they saw the Red Sea collapse on Pharaoh's army, Moses sat there and dropped a freestyle on everybody about it. Right? So now they're going through the wilderness, and the first thing they do is start acting like they can't be touched. Oh, we're going to make a statue and say that this is Yahuwah. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. So what did he have to do? He had to chasten them. He had to deal hardly with them. Because every time they got a little headway, they started getting arrogant, started getting swole up. They went to fight an army. They had to, every time that Moses held his hands up, they were winning. Because they saw that as a sign of strength from Yahuwah. Every time he lowered his arms, they would start losing. They got bitten by snakes. Moses made up a serpent for them to look at. And all Yahuwah said, all they have to do is look at the thing. They don't have to do anything else but look, and the poison would subside. You had people saying, oh, I feel better. Ah, why? Because you start getting arrogant, start thinking you can do for yourself again.
Mm-hmm.
So for 40 years, he wanted humility. Because they had to realize that the power and what delivered them was him, not anything they did. So he had to break that out of, he had to break Egypt out of them, pretty much. And you go down to verse 6, it says, therefore, thou shalt keep the commandments of Yahuwah thy Elohim, to walk in his ways and to fear him. And he gives down what they should do and what he did, and remember who I am before you start thinking anything else. Okay? And again, he warns them about pride. In verse 17, he says, and thou say in thine heart, my power and the might of mine hand have gotten me this wealth.
Mm.
But thou shalt remember Yahuwah thy Elohim, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant which he sware unto thy fathers, as it is this day. And it shall be, if thou do at all forget Yahuwah thy Elohim, and walk after other gods, and serve them, and worship them, I testify against you this day, that ye shall surely perish. As the nations, not his people, some other nations, which Yahuwah destroyeth before your face, so shall ye perish, because you would not be obedient unto the voice of Yahuwah your Elohim.
Mhm.
So again, humility, submission. This is what he's looking for. Right? He says they will humble themselves. They have to submit. A lot of Hebrews don't want to humble themselves. They don't have to be crazy, boastful nut jobs like some of these guys in the corner are to be not humble. Because you see them on the corner, they are not the picture of humility at all.
They're full of pride.
They are full of pride. They try to sugarcoat it, well, not even sugarcoat it, but cover it up by saying that they have to be so boastful and loud in order to get their point across.
No, they don't.
You don't have to yell and scream and shout at people in order to get them to hear you. If anything, it's actually shown in many instances and studies that if you whisper, people pay attention.
Yeah, if you talk with calmness.
If you're loud and screaming,
yeah,
I don't want to hear what you got to say.
right.
Now, if there's an absolute danger, I'm not going to sit there and say, fire, fire. I'm going to scream, hey, fire, let's go.
Like that guy did when he rang the doorbell.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
You
pounded
bang on the door or whatever, that's one thing. But if you're actually trying to get people to understand what you are saying, if you're actually trying to get them to comprehend the nature of what you're saying, the importance of what you're saying, you don't yell at them and berate them and scream at them. You don't sit there and turn people away with your attitude. You maintain humility. Yeah, we're to cry aloud and spare not. That means don't be hesitant to warn people.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean go off and blow a shofar right in somebody's ear, though.
That's messed up.
But that, like when Hamashiach, was about his ministry. When he spoke to people, he spoke with sincerity and authority at the same time.
Yeah.
He wasn't yelling and screaming at people, because when you know you have the truth, you don't need to be angry about it.
Right.
You know it's the truth, and you speak with humility.
Right.
And it's all about self-respect too.
Especially when you're the one, like us, we're the ones that are realizing, all right, we screwed up.
Yeah.
We broke covenant. Now we're coming into a realization that we can renew the covenant. If anything, there should be no pride whatsoever about it. We should be all humility. Because again,
we screwed up.
He don't say be prideful and yell at screaming people.
Mm-hmm.
He says be humble.
Yeah. We screwed up. We broke covenant with the creator of the universe. No other nation did, because the covenant was given to our fathers. So
exactly.
We messed up. That's why everything that's happening to us is happening.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Now, Second Chronicles 34:27.
Mm-hmm.
Yahuwah's talking to the king of Judah, and he's explaining to him what humility does for him. Okay, and he says, because thine heart was tender, and thou didst humble thyself before Yahuwah, when thou heardest his words against this place and against the inhabitants thereof, and humblest thyself before me, and didst rend thy clothes, and weep before me, I have even heard thee also, saith Yahuwah.
Hey, where are you?
34:27.
Second Chronicles?
Yep, Second Chronicles 34. Right.
27.
This is when King Josiah was in remember King Josiah, the 8-year-old king?
Mm-hmm.
Over here, Papa. I wrote it down over here. Second Chronicles, Old Testament.
27.
34:27. This is after Josiah. When he's rebuilding the temple, and they realized they didn't actually have a copy of the book of the law, and they found it, and they started reading it, and they had to take it to a prophetess, a woman, to teach them.
That's like, duh.
For all them Hebrews who are like, I can't suffer a woman to teach me. Guess what?
Yahuwah used the women.
Old Testament. He went to a prophetess, a woman, to teach them and explain to them what the law said. And once Josiah found out that they were in violation of the law, he lost it. Because all that time, he had wanted to do right by Yahuwah. That's why he was tearing down all the pagan Asherah poles and everything else. He was purging Israel of all the pagan influence. But then when he found out there were still things they were doing wrong, and it was actually written down, when they realized, wait, there's a rule book we're supposed to be following?
Lost it.
He submitted, he chastened himself. He dealt harshly with himself. He submitted himself to Yahuwah's rule.
I can't find it. Found it. Said it was dying.
Yeah, we would be doing like this. So, Yahuwah, seeing that he did that, right? In chapter 34, verse 27, he says, because thine heart was tender, and thou didst humble thyself before Yahuwah, when thou heardest the words against this place, because Yahuwah was going to bring judgment against the people for breaking his law. And against the inhabitants thereof, and humblest thyself before me, and didst rent thy clothes, and weep before me, I have even heard thee also, saith Yahuwah. What do you say here? Seek my face, turn from the wicked ways, I will hear from heaven. Right?
I'm on chapter 2, I'm on verse 26. It doesn't say that.
Well, come down to 27, now 28. So now he's gonna tell him what he's gonna do for him. He says, behold, I will gather thee to thy fathers, and thou shalt be gathered to thy grave in peace. Neither shall thine eyes see all the evil that I will bring upon this place, and upon the inhabitants of the same. So they brought the king word again. So because he humbled himself, Yahuwah said, all right, I have to pronounce judgment. But because you humbled yourself immediately, I'm going to let you die without seeing the judgment that's got to come.
Wow.
Wait, who?
So he spared him.
He spared him having to see the judgment coming upon his people because they were in violation of the law. He said, you're going to go to your grave in peace. I'm not going to let you see what's going to happen because you humbled yourself and you sought me out. Right? So we see that it's, again, you got to follow the recipe. You got to humble yourself, right? And then everything else follows. There's no pride here that's allowed. Let's look at a little bit of pridefulness here. Okay, let's go to Leviticus 26.
Leviticus chapter 26.
Leviticus 26, verse 19. Actually, I'm going to go up to verse 18. We'll start there. It says, and if you will not yet for all this hearken unto me, this is Yahuwah speaking to the people after he's let them know that what the commandments are and what they need to do. Okay? It says, and if you will not yet for all this hearken unto me, then I will punish you 7 times more for your sins. And I will break the pride of your power. Okay? Your arrogancy. And I will make your heaven as iron and your earth as brass. What is what is your heaven now? What is heaven? What do you think that making heaven iron and the earth as brass mean?
That the earth is going to crumble and heaven is still standing?
Well, there is that. But realize, you got earth, you got the heavens, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got earth, and you got heavens. Right? So, Yahuwah is up here on the throne. Throne. Right?
It's like, wait, the.
Okay? So, if you're here, yay, and you are in His will, and you pray, your prayers go to Him, right? Because the heaven would just be
Separation.
Like, what did Job say? It's like molten glass, right? There's windows in it, everything. It goes to heaven. And he says, your heaven should be iron, your earth brass. We're talking, instead of dirt that things can plant in and be fruitful and grow in, it's going to be just metal. And instead of something that, again, light and everything can pass through, it's going to be metal. So what does sound do in metal?
Bounce back.
Bounce back. Bing, 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 bing. Goes nowhere.
So basically, it will be abandoned.
Yeah. And he's telling them that if you don't do what I tell you, that's what's going to happen. If you don't follow the recipe, you're not going to get a treat. Second Chronicles 32. That's going to be the last time we go to Second Chronicles. Okay.
Second Chronicle 32. See, I was in 32 last time, and I was like, what do you mean?
All right, start at 24, okay? 32, 24 through 26.
I'm there.
In those days, Hezekiah was sick to the death, and prayed unto Yahuwah, and he spake unto him, and he gave him a sign. But Hezekiah rendered not again according to the benefit done unto him, for his heart was lifted up. Prideful. Therefore there was wrath upon him, and upon Judah and Jerusalem. Notwithstanding, Hezekiah humbled himself for the pride of his heart, both he and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, so that the wrath of Yahuwah came not upon them in the days of Hezekiah. So he realized that he needed to stop being prideful so that judgment wouldn't come upon him. So he ended up humbling himself. He realized in the beginning, I'm being all swole-headed. I'm lifting myself up. Right? We're not the ones that be lifting ourselves. We're supposed to be lifting Yahuwah up. And if we do that, he will lift us up. We don't do it ourselves. We don't take care of ourselves for our own sake. We maintain this so that Yahuwah will be proud of us and lift us up. Right? We've got Psalms 10, verse 2. It's after Job, me. Can we find it? Here. Verse 2. Can you read that? Go ahead.
The wicked is...
Speak up.
The wicked... Yeah. Yeah, I heard that. Yeah. It happened in the back.
Okay. Louder. Speak up.
The wicked in his pride don't persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined.
All right. So the wicked, the bad people, in their pride, in their arrogancy and their swelling, right? They persecute the poor. What do the rich people do in this country now? Every decision that a rich person makes, every decision that a politician makes, it doesn't affect the other rich people. It affects the poor people.
Yeah.
Okay? So even Yahuwah is saying, let them be taken in the devices they have imagined.
Mm-hmm.
Population control. You want to wipe out people? Guess what? Guess who's going to get wiped out?
Poor.
No, they want to
They
wipe
want to
out
wipe
the
out the
poor.
poor.
And now according to this, Yahuwah will visit that punishment on them instead. Okay, why do you think now there's such a population drop, birth rate drop? The wicked in their pride.
It's not just one group of people.
No,
it's happening
all over.
to all the heathen nations.
All over.
Now China is regretting their one child per family, law.
Exactly. Proverbs 8 and 13.
I'll get that one. 8:13.
Mm-hmm.
That's the next book over, Bean.
You don't pass it 15 times over.
He'll learn the books.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
You found it?
Here, Bean. Read it from here.
I was going to read it.
This highlighted. No, I'm saying you can read along with Mommy. She reads it out loud.
Okay. Proverbs 8:13.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The fear of Yahuwah is to hate evil, pride, and arrogancy, and the evil way and the froward mouth do I hate.
Yeah, see? So even Yahuwah is telling you to hate pridefulness. Now there's a difference between being proud of something you did and being prideful.
Yeah.
Being proud of your child for accomplishing something. Being proud that you were able to overcome your fear, as long as you temper that with humility, knowing that that pride, that power, that ability you had came from the Most High. You have pride in that, not pride in your own self.
Right.
I'm thankful, if anything, you should be. So saying, I'm proud of you, I'm proud of myself for doing that. Well, I'm thankful Yahuwah gave me the ability to do that.
Yeah. I think in everything we should give Yahuwah praise
everything
first.
give thanks, right?
Yeah.
So, otherwise you're going to sit, he's telling you he hates pride. So why would anybody want to be proud of anything? I'm thankful that my son was able to do this. I'm thankful that Yahuwah gave my daughter the ability to do that. Oh, that was just a great lesson. All praise to the Most High.
Right.
It's like, don't tell me. Thank Yahuwah you were able to do this. If you're gonna compliment anybody in any way like that.
Right.
Okay. Let's look at some apocrypha scriptures, and then we're gonna go into the actual prayer component of it. Okay. Go to the book of Judith. Can we find it for you? J-U-D in the apocrypha. One of them books that the Catholics like to ignore.
Yeah, especially Esdras.
Oh man, they don't run from Esdras, boy. Don't you let them know we're the bad guys. Judith chapter 4. You there?
Yep. You want me to read?
You found it, Bean?
JDG.
Give me. No, not Judith. Judith.
Judith. Who was Judith, by the way?
Prophet.
I gotta read this book.
Okay. See where it's highlighted there?
Okay.
Hey, baby.
4:9. Then every man of Yisrael cried to Elohim with great fervency and with great vehemency did they humble their souls.
See? They know how to follow a recipe. The people of Israel called out, humble themselves. Right? With vehemency, just like, we have to do, like, stop. Throw away all your expensive clothes and just put on, thrift store stuff. Sackcloth and ashes. That whole thing.
Wow.
You go, when you're vehemently, you're very just focused almost to the point of angry about it.
Yeah.
Do it now, you know. Go to the Book of Sirach. I don't know if it's on that app. Let me see.
Second Sirach.
Sirach, S-I-R.
Is it? What's it in English?
Oh, I found it.
Is it Sirach or is it in English? Like,
It's S.
I know that's.
S-I-R.
I'm still getting used to mine.
I don't know.
Here it is. That's what I was asking. Ecclesiasticus.
Ecclesiasticus.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what was asking.
Yeah,
What is
it was like
what is
Sirach
it?
is. I couldn't remember. Yeah, Ecclesiasticus.
Because I know like Sirach is the Hebrew. I'm like, okay. Because in the Sefer on the tabs you have Ecclesiasticus in the front and Sirach in the back.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So Sirach chapter 2, verse 17. They that fear Yahuwah will prepare their hearts and humble their souls in his sight. So you're still maintaining that humility. 3:18 says, the greater thou art, the more humble thyself, and thou shalt find favor before Yahuwah. So you think you bad, you gotta, as much as you might think about yourself, that's how, as highly as you think of yourself, that's how low you got to bring yourself before Yahuwah.
Because look at it this way. The creator of the universe sort of made himself low, lower than the angels when he came to earth in human form.
Yeah. He could have made himself, he could have taken an angel and said, hey, go do this.
Yeah. And he could have came as a king. Like, you know, he could have just pushed Herod aside.
Yeah, just stepped in. It's like, this is my house. Get out.
Yeah, he could have done that. But no, he was born in a stable. He was born in a barn.
He was born in a sukkot.
Yeah. Where animals
were. He was born in a sukkot next to the barn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He was born in a tent outside. The only ones that showed him any regal honor were heathens.
Yeah.
And that's the heathens. That's why he said when the centurion came up to him and asked about his servant, he said, I haven't seen faith like this in all of Yashar'al. Everybody else in this country is treating me like trash. I got heathens coming up to me like, you the man. I'm gonna do whatever you say.
Yeah.
From the time he was a kid, they bringing him gifts. It wasn't just, it signified this, that, and the others. Like, they brought him expensive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But again, it says, the greater thou art, the more humble yourself. So when you see people who, they might be performing for the cameras or whatever, but you see like celebrities or sports stars or, you know, oh, you scored the most points in the game ever, whatever. I just want to give praise to God or whatever. That's their version of humility, but the theory is sound. Okay? I did all this because the Most High enabled me to do it. I'm nothing without him.
And the next one is the same book.
Yes, Sirach 7, verse 17. Or Ecclesiasticus. Ecclesiasticus. Go find the Christians.
I used to say, I'm watching, go blame it on the Christians.
Don't blame it on the Christians.
Huh?
Ecclesiasticus, also known as Sirach.
Yeah, it's after the
Chapter.
book of
Chapter 7.
Wisdom. Wisdom of Solomon is after that.
Got it?
I know. Yeah.
Got it?
Chapter 7, verse 17.
Go ahead, read it to you.
17. Where did it go? Humble yourself greatly, for the vengeance of the wicked is fire and worms.
So, when Yahuwah is saying, they got to humble themselves, right? Pride and arrogancy is a wicked trait. So if you're maintaining that pride and arrogancy in yourself, you're being wicked, and the vengeance on you is going to be just fire and worms, death, destruction. Okay? So we understand now that there's a difference between what the actual difference is between being humble and being prideful. What this does for you that's a benefit, and what this does for you as a punishment. Right? So real quick, we're going to go through these verses about prayer, because this is how we communicate with the Most High. Because he says you got to humble yourself. So look at it this way. If you're being prideful, right? Remember we talked about having a swollen head, right?
Yeah.
If you got a big head, can you fit through the door?
No.
No. So now that you've humbled yourself, and you've deflated your head some so you can fit through the door, now we come to prayer, which is our way of communicating with the Most High. When you have people out on the street, right? They're coming up and yelling from the street, "Hey, can Jody come out and play?" Go to the house and communicate.
Like how my friends ring the doorbell, we go to the balcony and say yes or no.
Yeah, but they're screaming out, right? Or you'll see people come to. Before it used to be more acceptable to drive up to somebody's house and honk the horn until whoever you were coming to pick up came out. Now with cell phones, it's less acceptable. Okay, but before, so now let's take it as now. If somebody's pulled up and they're just honking the horn, laying on the horn, that's not an effective communication, because everybody on the block is hearing that horn.
Yeah.
Who are you here for? So there's a way to communicate. Okay? You can't communicate with the Most High